Hey, Gavin.
Hey, Louie.
How are you doing on this beautiful quarantine day?
Oh, it is about 77 degrees in New York, and I don't have a single window open, so I'm doing really great.
Oh. Yeah, Sam. We are waving through a window, honey. Doing our best. Welcome, everyone, to the Mixed Reviews.
We are a film podcast in which we take a subject such as an actor, a director, or a mini-genre, and we tell you a history, and we boil it down to what we think is good and what we think is not so good.
We mix up some reviews. We take a couple of weeks. We get into it. We have some fun. I guess, Gavin, before we get started, we had a little event this past week. We had our second Netflix watch party, and we watched The Craft. We called The Four Corners. We healed our scars.
We did such a good job that it left Netflix the next day.
Yeah. They said, goodbye, gone girl.
It's like nobody else can.
So thank you, everyone, for watching with us. We had a bunch of fun. And Gavin, do you know who was there? We our special guest today was there with us. It's Samantha Stallard, everyone.
It's me, Samantita.
Samantita. You've been with us at both Netflix parties, correct?
Yes, I am the number one fan of this podcast.
Correct.
And I will be at all of your Netflix parties.
Thank you.
To roast you, Louie, first and foremost.
Okay, yeah, you definitely roasted me last time. It was a good burn. It was a good burn. She keeps me humble.
That's what I'm here for. That's right. You're getting too famous.
Sam, I'm surprised. As the number one fan, where did you get that Mixed Reviews foam finger? It is nuts. She's wearing the hat. She's wearing the scarf. She's got the pennant.
Yeah.
I have a private Etsy account where nothing is for sale.
Yeah, she's just making her own merch for us. Sam is my good friend, everyone, and she's also a media maven, a woman of international acclaim, accord, and a huge fan of our topic for today. But before we get into our topic, we have a little bit of old business. Last episode, we talked about Meera Nair, Indian female filmmaker who we just gushed over, Gavin. We loved her so much. We asked you guys to go online to our poll to vote on your favorite movie. I will say right off the bat, so sorry, I got it up a little late. It's been a crazy week for me specifically, but I think all of us can maybe have some empathy.
No, just you,
just Louie.
Just me.
As always.
But so we asked you guys to vote, and here are the results. Salam Bombay came in at 7%. Mississippi Masala came in at 12%. And a close horse race for the end. The Namesake came in at second place with 37%, and Monsoon Wedding, which was both me and Gavin's pick, came in up top at 44%. What do you think of those results, Gavin?
My good friend Kim did point out that it was the first time that you and I were so in sync that the reviews were not mixed at all. True. And therefore the podcast is over.
Canceled.
So done. We're done. We're in synced reviews. But no, I like those results, and it was interesting to see the Namesake and Monsoon Wedding go back and forth so much, because we do have a very passionate fan base for both as our listeners. But either is a worthy winner. But in the end, of course, my heart goes with Monsoon Wedding as well.
Yeah. Sam, have you seen many Meera films or any of these?
I haven't. The only one I have seen is Monsoon Wedding, and I can attest that it is gorgeous.
Gorgeous. It reminds me of I can't believe I didn't say this last time, but the wedding they have at the house reminds me so much of the wedding from Rachel Gets Married.
Rachel Getting Married?
Is that what I said?
Wow. Do you even know movies?
If it was just called Rachel Gets Married, then everybody would know what it was about going in. You can't have that. No mystery there.
True.
Wow.
But I just think both of those weddings are like everything I want in a wedding, like everything a wedding should be. It's like so fun. Like you're at home. Like, I want to get married at home, okay?
And Louis just very much wants Deborah Winger to slap him across the face.
Please. Oh, God. I want to do choreography in like a pool that's empty.
Louis, wedding at home is alluding to our topic today.
It is.
Oh, you're very, very right. Well, that's Sam.
God.
What a segue, Sam.
Louis, you're fired. Sam, you're hired.
Oh, God.
That's right. Suck it.
Yes, who are we here to talk about today, Sam? We'll let you do the honors.
We are here to talk about my style icon, my mother. She gave birth to me. Diane Keaton.
Diane motherfucking Keaton.
Oh,
My
love her.
God.
How are your adopted siblings? Anyways.
You mean
Oh, yeah.
Dexter and Duke?
Yes. We'll get into them. We'll get into them.
Sam, why? Because I think for the longest time you had told me that you wanted to do Diane Keaton. And
Right. Because I volunteered myself for this years ago.
Years ago. When this podcast was born, Sam was like, I'm ready.
Right, truly.
But can you maybe illuminate us a little bit on your love of Diane? What was the first movie you saw of hers? Why do you fall in love with her?
So I believe my first movie was Father of the Bride, which we were just talking about. And
yes.
I just found her so maternal. I truly saw her on television and was like, she is my mommy and I need to be around her. And that maternal instinct truly stays with her throughout her career and across her characters. It's just, there's this comforting feeling when you see Diane Keaton of like, you could go to her and tell her about your bad day and she'd give you a hug.
Oh, yeah.
Like, acting chops aside. I just...
Also, she's an amazing actress, but...
No. No, just kidding. She is. But it really is just Diane Keaton. Her whole story. I love that she has dated across the map. Woody Allen, disgusting. Warren Beatty, much better. Al Pacino.
Al Pacino. Well, maybe.
Al Pacino for 20 years off and on.
Okay.
That's a lot of Pacino.
Wow, what a... That's a bad romance.
It's too much Pacino.
Too much Pacino.
I'm very into her vibe.
And like you said, she is kind of like a style icon. She's kind of, for me, falls into the Sally Field pantheon of actresses. Just in like being a mom, coming up in the 70s and 80s, and just like having a very specific style of like, you know, when she's there, you know what she's serving. Right?
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that she's just maintained her relevancy, and I hate that word relevant, but it's so true, throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, like girl books, okay?
Girls booked and blessed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think she's always a delight to see, too. Even if the project is sometimes seemingly below her, it's fun to like...
Sometimes.
I was going to say, a little bit more than sometimes.
Yeah. Especially the last... decade or so, but I enjoy seeing her. Like, I enjoy her popping up.
She's kind of like very much like, you know what, that movie was really bad, but man, it's so fun seeing her, because no matter what, you know, you're gonna have some antics. You're gonna have her wearing some like kooky clothes and just maybe her like not knowing how a phone works, you know, like
they're going to make her sob uncontrollably at least once, and she'll deliver. She's there to sob.
Gavin, I believe you have the fun task, and I'm sure Sam will help you out as you need to get into our rewind.
Diane Keaton was born January 5th, 1946, which makes her 74 years young. And Diane Keaton is not her real name. Her name is...
She's a liar.
She is a liar. She's a liar, Diane.
Oh my God.
She changed her name to Keaton from Hall, which is her birth name and her father's name as well. It's funny because she's the second actor we've done whose real last name is not Keaton, because we did a Michael Keaton episode.
Yeah, true.
Because he's a little Michael
Too
Douglas.
many Keatons out there, huh?
Oh, wow. Keatons are liars.
It's a true fact. Her mother, Dorothy Deanne, was a homemaker and amateur photographer, and her father, John Newton Ignatius Jack Hall, was a real estate broker and civil engineer.
Wow.
King of 90
Poor
names.
man.
What a name. Ignatius? Catholic if I ever heard it.
Well, no, because she was raised Free Methodist by her mother.
He escaped the church.
I've listened to her talk about her mom and how she feels like she maybe sacrificed a bit of her dream to raise her kids and be this married person.
I didn't want that. Didn't want to have my mother's role. Because I saw that she wanted to be. She had a lot of ambition that she couldn't realize because of 4 kids and a husband. in the 50s.
She was the kind of mother who was the great enabler. And she was always supporting me, every single thing that I ever did. I mean, we were partners.
And that sort of inspired Diane in a way that she lives her life now. What's interesting about that, too, is she also won the Miss Los Angeles pageant for homemakers. Her mother did. And Diane Keaton says that the theatricality of the event inspired her first impulse to be an actress, and made her want to work on the stage.
I heard her talking on Fresh Air where she was saying, like, I think my mom was trying to, like, teach us, like, the importance of, being a good homemaker and, like, keeping the house tidy and all that. And all I got from it was like, wow, what a performance. The drag of being a mom.
Vacuuming in pearls.
I was about 8 or 9, and my mother, became Mrs. Highland Park. And I remember sitting down in the stage and watching her being crowned Mrs. Highland Park. And it was that she was the perfect homemaker. I went to win Mrs. Highland Park. She kept making these chocolate cakes every day that we had to eat. And this was what she was. And then she went on to be Mrs. Los Angeles because she made a good spaghetti or something. I don't know. And they came around at like 7 a.m, the judges, and looked at our house, which was insane to see if she was a neat homemaker. And so that was very exciting I think it lasted for about 4 months. But then she made it to the finalists of Mrs. California, but then she didn't get Mrs. California. She was too good for him.
In 1964, she graduated Santa Ana High School in Santa Ana, California. And she did singing and acting there. She attended Santa Ana College and later Orange Coast College as an acting student. But then she dropped out after a year to pursue an entertainment career in Manhattan. She joined the Actors Equity Association, and that's when she changed her last name from Hall to Keaton. Well, the name Hall will come up again, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Where?
I know. Surprise! Keaton began studying acting at the Neighborhood Playhouse in New York City. And she initially started acting under the Meisner techniques, and we've talked about techniques before. We brought up Meisner before, Sanford Meisner, who had a very specific style of acting. In 1968, Keaton became a member of the Tribe, and she was an understudy of Sheila in the original Broadway production of Hair.
I did have a little solo, and my song was Black Boys Are Delicious. Black boys are delicious, chocolate-flavored treats. Licorice lips like candy, keep my cocoa handy. So that's what I sang.
And she became famous as the girl who was like, end of Act 1, we're all getting nude. No, thank you.
As the prude.
Yep. No,
Yeah.
Right.
And you know what?
She was like, why?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing, is like, it was an elective. You didn't have to get naked. And so it's not like she ruined the show by not disrobing, but I do think it's funny, like, Hair, big break. No.
The situation was that we were all under this huge tarp or something doing, and we were lying there, and there would be holes in the tarp, and people would stand up at the appropriate moment, and you sort of just stand naked. That was how that was. And I just remember lying under the tarp and seeing all my friends get naked over the course of time, and I just didn't want to do it. It just didn't seem worth it to me at the time. I didn't want to do it. Standing naked in the dark and getting cold, it just didn't seem like fun. But hey, frankly, I was, I just graduated from the Neighborhood Playhouse, and I really wasn't a hippie. I never was a hippie. I was basically always an actress.
Well, that's what I do love about her. I love that she is very idiosyncratic. She has her own beliefs. She's very independent. She's like, am I going to dress like Katharine Hepburn? Sure, I'm going to do it. Is anybody going to be able to tell me not to? No, they cannot. But at the same time, she's also this kind of self-deprecating, demure, really doesn't necessarily put herself first in her mind. So it's such an interesting dichotomy that she has such confidence and such low self-opinion, or seemingly low self-opinion. I really connected to that, by the way. I don't know if you've been listening to this podcast.
Oh, it's beyond same. It's like, God.
So she was nominated for a Tony for the play Play It Again, Sam, written by Woody Allen. And she made her film debut in this movie called Lovers and Other Strangers in 1970. I actually, weirdly enough, just happened to see this movie even before we picked Diane Keaton. And she has a minor role in it towards the end of the film. But it's a very, like, Diane Keaton role. Like, she kind of sweeps in. She's kind of a mess. And I don't know. It's very funny because obviously people think Annie Hall. Like, Annie Hall is the thing that defined Diane Keaton for generations, but there were seeds of it in her other work.
Yeah.
Why'd you miss the wedding?
Oh, I wasn't going to come at all. Did you tell your parents?
Sort of.
Oh, well, it's not right to keep their hopes up.
She, does a lot of TV, Love American Style, Mannix, and she does an episode of Night Gallery, which I watched, and she's terrible in it. And I don't want to misquote somebody on Twitter, but a couple weeks ago, somebody on Twitter...
Oh, heavens, no.
I know. Would never want to steal from Twitter. A couple weeks ago on Twitter, somebody said, Kate Blanchett can't play poor. And I would like to add to that Diane Keaton can't play dumb.
Okay.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one.
And I think it's true.
No one would buy that Kate Blanchett was poor.
No.
No, never.
I mean, I think we're going to get into this also in like future of her movies, but like I saw a movie where I was like, Diane Keaton in this house? No.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I was like, Diane would never live in this ramshackle circumstance.
And we will be talking about it.
2 years later, her big breakthrough comes, and I feel like there's a subset of people who know her from this, and I never think of her in this.
They're straight people, you mean?
Yes, exactly, straight people. Francis Ford Coppola sees her in Lovers and Other Strangers and decides to cast her in the role of Kay Adams in The Godfather, which she then went on to play in The Godfather Part 2 and The Godfather Part 3. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much any of us have to...
Straight men, by the way.
Yes, straight men. Yes, solid, Sam.
Yes.
Solid. I don't know how...
Please.
I don't know how much we'll be talking about The Godfather, so if you came to this episode for The Godfather chat, I'm sorry.
So sorry.
So sorry. But I will say...
Cancel now.
I will say she's fine in the movies. It's not much of a role. She even agrees. She even said about playing the role again in the second film, I was skeptical about playing Kay again in the Godfather sequel, but when I read the script, the character seemed much more substantial than in the first movie. And she's
wrong.
Good.
Negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly.
But the 70s is really what brings her through and what makes people know her. She does do a film version of Play It Again, Sam, with Woody Allen, which he does not direct, but she does a bunch of films with him. She does the movie Sleeper, Love and Death, Interiors. And in the middle of all of that, she makes what I think most people know as her defining role is Annie Hall. I've been dreading getting to this section because I don't really want to talk about Woody Allen, and we've been able to skate around him with other topics before. He is so ingrained to who we know as Diane Keaton. I feel like it'd be hard not to talk just a little bit about their collaboration.
Right. We can't cherry pie the situation here.
No. You give them the straight facts.
Yeah. So we will not be donating $5,000 to the Trevor Project every time we mention Woody Allen. But it is to say that really he creates this character of Annie Hall, which is Diane Keaton for Diane Keaton. Hall is her real last name. Annie is her nickname. And she brings to this role, a sort of sense of awkward, self-deprecating, she does these whirlwind sort of broken sentences. She's kind of klutzy, but you get the sense that she's really, really brilliant. La-di-da. I think she looks back at Annie Hall, as her big breakthrough, and it goes on to win her the Academy Award for Best Actress in 1977.
Yeah, I think what's interesting around this time period, especially dealing with Woody Allen, is like she is kind of, after The Godfather, becomes known as this kooky, funny, comedic actress.
I think that I'm afraid. I think I'm kind of a chicken actress. And I think that people really have to keep saying, you can do it, you can do it. And it really tells you. I mean, as an actress, it informs me how much I desperately need a director who cares. It's so important to have somebody watching me. And lots of times it's easy for me to give up. And, my tendency is to just kind of rush through everything. Like, I love to be fast. My favorite thing in life is to be speedy and quick and get through it. You constantly are battling with yourself when you're acting in a part. At least I am, because it's just not that easy for me.
Yeah.
I think that I'm more inclined to live comfortably in the world of humor.
Woody Allen says that she was his muse during the time, and her energy and her just joie de vivre, whatever the fuck, just defined because all those movies, she is just like the foil, especially with the ones where he's in, like in Love and Death. It's just kind of like him kind of being like, what's the deal? And she's like, well, actually the deal is.
Right. She's the straight man to him pretty
Yes.
much in everything.
What if we're just a bunch of absurd people who are running around with no rhyme or reason?
But if there is no God, well, then life has no meaning. Why go on living? Why not just commit suicide?
Well, let's not get hysterical. I could be wrong. I'd hate to blow my brains out and then read in the papers they found something.
I only watched Annie Hall and Love and Death. Everything else I said, fuck it. Oh, I did see Interiors, but Interiors feels very different than...
Very different.
Interiors is Woody Allen making a Bergman film.
A drama.
And he does it.
True.
He does it in spades. And I actually ended up really liking Interiors. And it doesn't feel anywhere near as gross as Manhattan does. Because, ooh boy, 80% of Manhattan. And that movie is a classic to so many people, and I had never seen it before.
Me neither. I was screaming at the television the whole time. She is a child. Mm-hmm. She is a child that, unfortunately, we should all know what's wrong with us. And Woody Allen movies are a problematic fave of mine. I am so sorry to tell you, some people still listen to Chris Brown. Okay,
they do.
He is a terrible monster of a human, a truly bad person, but god damn it.
I know, you texted me, you were like, I guess I liked Love and Death, and I was like, oh, Sam.
I did like Love and Death, I'm so sorry.
No, I mean, there are plenty of, I think, this is our 68th episode of this film. I think there's plenty to be said about being able to separate an artist from their art, and I don't think by...
I'm going to go listen to Man in the Mirror after this.
Exactly. I don't think by simply watching and enjoying a Woody Allen film, suddenly you're condoning every wrong that the man has ever committed. But it's really hard when you watch something like Manhattan and you see the way Mariel Hemingway is both acting and treated in the film. And then hearing some of the stuff she said about making the movie, that
movie is a giant red flag away.
Yeah, absolutely.
That whole movie.
And just I also had to rewatch a bunch of his movies, and just watching the pattern of what a little horny monster he is, and how much he thinks he deserves sex. There's a lot of off-putting stuff.
He thinks highly of himself.
Yeah.
I know. His movies are just about women obsessed with him.
Yes.
It's like, with you?
With you?
You little toad?
Yeah.
I did want to mention around this time also, I don't know if you guys got to see I Will for Now.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Elliot Gould.
Elliot Gould, who I was like, am I attracted to young Elliot Gould?
He was so cute. But he was also kind of a monster, which is a deeper issue with me and why I would be attracted to him.
I think there's a point in every person's life where they have to admit that Elliot Gould was in fact attractive in the 70s. And there's a lot of films where he looks really great. So
I know. Oh my god, he was so my type.
That movie for me is formative though of Diane and her future career though, because this is about love and sex and dating, and it's so crazy, and trying to figure out the politics of what a wife should be, what your partner should be, and that movie is satirizing marriage, and they have these contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a really kind of fun farce romp through sex politics.
Did you immediately make Derek sign a contract?
Oh yeah, we're contracted right now
for the next 3 months.
Right, through quarantine.
They weirdly enough, they actually got Paul Sorvino to do the contract for them. It's very strange. What is he doing?
I loved him so much in that movie.
But I do want to say about that movie specifically, I think I liked it a little bit less than you actually, but I think what that movie does is it seizes upon something that is sort of laid out just a tiny bit in the Woody Allen films and like kind of makes it's some of the wrong things I think that people perceived about Diane Keaton, whereas in that film she's like repressed. There's that scene where like they can't get her to say the word fuck.
Quickly, give me another word for sexual intercourse.
Fornication.
Another.
Coitus.
Another.
Copulation.
A 4-letter word.
Love.
Another.
Mate.
Another. Tri-hump. I'm not asking you. Well, come on. A 4-letter word.
Screw.
That's 5. 4-letter word.
I don't know it.
You've seen it written on walls.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
What's the word?
I don't know.
You do.
I don't.
Come on, say it. Say it.
All right. Fuck. I'm sorry. God, I'm sorry.
And I feel like a lot of movies that when it doesn't have her, because that's the other thing Woody Allen would say is that she brought a lot to his films. Like interiors, she suggested the name of the movie. She would bring character ideas. And I think without her interaction to these films, without her interaction to these roles, there's a way that you see and you're just like, oh, she's just like a repressed lady person. And yeah, that's the unfortunate part of that, because she's so much more than that.
You play very well.
Oh, yeah? So do you. Oh, God, what a dumb thing to say, right? I mean, you say it, you play well, and then right away I have to say you play well. Oh, God, Annie. Well, oh, well. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
After Annie Hall, though, she starts choosing movies that are kind of like outside of that wheelhouse because she doesn't want to be typecast. Is that right, Gavin?
Yes, absolutely. And she essentially doesn't want to be like that kooky girl in the vintage clothes who's wearing men's outfits, though she kind of becomes the kooky girl in men's clothes. But it's funny because also
right, she returns later.
But before we move out of that, just real quick, just want to end the misnomer. People were like, oh yeah, for Annie Hall she wore all her own clothing. She wore some of her own clothing, but there was a costume designer on that movie. Ruth Morley designed the costumes for that film, and she's really to thank for that.
Well, and there's the anecdote in that movie when she talks about wearing a piece of her grandmother's clothing. So it was clearly a lot more than just, oh, Diane's crazy, look at her tie.
She starts moving into more serious roles, and she ends up taking a role for a much lesser amount of money in 1977's Looking for Mr. Goodbar, which is based on Judith Rosner's best-selling crime novel of the same name, which was inspired by the murder of a New York City school teacher named Roseanne Quinn. And Looking for Mr. Goodbar is a really complicated, very hard to find film, by the way. I don't know if you guys were able to get to it. I ended up finding a copy that somebody had uploaded to YouTube. It is not available for most mass market because the music is too expensive. And I can't imagine that movie without the music, though.
Yeah, it's like Donna Summer is like pumping through it. It's such a like disco fever dream of like, I mean, again, we haven't mentioned this though, but like the 70s was all about like women's liberation, and you know, a lot of her movies do deal with, you know, like left of center politics and, you know, wanting to break free from like the patriarchy and whatever. And Looking for Mr. Goodbar is, I think, I mean, a lot of her movies deal with that. Looking for Mr. Goodbar is kind of looking at that stuff and then like maybe the dangers.
I was going to say, but it's also a very dark-sided tale because she's presented as this, you know, and during the daytime, this sort of almost Mother Teresa. She's a teacher in a school for the deaf, and she's really connected to her family who kind of suck. But at night, she's like going out and meeting strange men and having like slightly more and more dangerous relationships with you know,
it's hot though. She's fucking, it is so hot.
It's actually
Richard Gere,
the tiniest Richard Gere.
Oh my god.
And
baby, I did like in that movie how she's reading The Godfather at the bar. I thought that was very clever.
I just love like when she has an affair with one of her professors, and when he's like taking that dress off of her, I was like, this is sex. Holy shit. So good.
So Looking for Mr. Goodbar is one of the only 2 times she's ever done nudity on screen. She had it written into her contract that in no way, shape, or form could those shots be used to advertise the film, because in the 70s, there were a lot of movie studios who would do these films and then sell pictures of it to like Playboy because the contract did not specify it.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Welcome to the 70s.
Gross men.
Yep. Men. Real bad.
Disgusting. Hate men.
Don't we all? But yeah, Looking for Mr. Goodbar is really great. And also the other thing I do want to say about her character is modern psychology sort of looked back at it and they're like, oh yeah, this character maybe has like a borderline personality disorder.
Yeah, she could really use a therapist, that's for sure. But I didn't know the ending going into it, so I was truly shook. I was like, are we done? That's that's what happens.
I also didn't know the ending going. I mean, I knew she was murdered. I convinced myself we were never going to get there. I was like, okay, this is going to end before that happens. So, yeah.
I didn't even know that she got murdered in the end. And the movie does this really good job of playing both sides of like art house movie cinema, where it's like very, very loosey-goosey, and then like but also it's really hot and heavy, so I wasn't sure where it's going. So it's very like artistic but also very like cruel, and I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, is the moral of this movie like don't go out because you'll get killed? Maybe it is.
The moral of the story is like, if you're gay, just be gay and don't kill girls.
Right, exactly. They didn't do anything
exactly
to you. They're trying to help.
Sponsored by Tinder.
Just take your sugar daddy.
Yeah, exactly.
So what happens in the morning?
Work.
Oh, yeah? Who is he? Husband?
Right.
Cabbie? Milkman?
Right.
Some guy pays the rent?
Comes daylight, work. I gotta be alone. Nothing personal.
Who said I want to stay?
Before we move further into the 70s, real quick, Diane has 2 other passions beside acting. She has lifelong wanted to be a singer. And honestly, like, what a delight it is when she gets a chance to sing in a movie, because there is a lot of it.
I know.
And I love that it's always sort of played off as like...
that must also be in her contract.
Yes, exactly. She's like,
I need to sing.
She has the don't make me sing clause in her contract. Don't make me sing.
Don't make me sing.
But I think it's always funny too, because I feel like it's oftentimes played as she can't sing and she can sing.
I wanted to sing. I thought I was going to be a singer. And I did everything I could to be a singer.
She's very like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. Yeah, I guess. Here's the mic.
Right. Can I get that on the C flat?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know it had to be you? Great. Here's the sheet music. Anyways. But her other lifelong passion has always been photography. We mentioned that her mother was an amateur photographer, and so she sort of wanted to live out that fantasy as well. And in the 70s, she began taking pictures seriously, and she's since both edited and been published as a photographer several times over. As a photographer herself, she's had one book, Reservations, which came out in 1980, but she's edited a bunch of photo books all the way from 83 to 2012. So
amazing.
Yeah,
love that.
Clearly, you know, she has other passions, and I love that she's like giving a chance to do them. 79 comes around. She does Manhattan with Woody Allen. We already mentioned it. That's great. 78, she becomes romantically involved with the aforementioned Warren Beatty. And
thank God.
And then 2 years later, he casts her in Reds. She plays Louise Bryant, who's a journalist and feminist, and she leaves her husband to work with radical journalist John Reed, played by Beatty, and enters Russia to find him later when he goes there to chronicle the Russian Civil War. Reds is an amazing film. It's a very long film. She's really good in it. Jack Nicholson is also in it as Eugene O'Neill, and Maureen Stapleton is in it. And it's so funny because I have a lot of respect and I really liked Reds, but I cannot think of people who are cast so poorly, because Jack Nicholson is definitely not Eugene O'Neill. Maureen Stapleton is definitely not Emma Goldman. But, you know, good on that. They play their parts incredibly well. They're just not those real people.
Absolutely not.
I texted both of you about this movie. I was like, should I fucking watch this epic? And you both said yes. And I was like, fine. And I'm really glad I did, because it was really fucking good. It took me all night and all morning, though. I fell asleep and started again this morning.
I also fell asleep, which by no means that I was not enjoying it, because I truly was. But it was also, there's an intermission.
A full intermission. Yeah.
You have to go get peanut M&Ms and then get charged, and then you can come back to your computer.
I definitely think they should bring back the intermission, especially for Avengers films. Anyways.
But I told this to you, Gavin. I was like, I just can't believe that Christopher Nolan, was blatantly ripped off by this movie and Warren Beatty with those interviews. It's like crazy how
for his film Interstellar,
Warren Beatty was,
which was secretly also about
his masterpiece Interstellar. But yeah, Reds is good, and the best part of Reds though are those interviews. Those old ladies who are just like,
the witnesses.
I heard that they had a menage a trois.
I know.
I was like, yes, spilling the tea, you old witnesses.
And I was reading about that movie and about how Warren Beatty directed it, and it took him years to get made. So he was like, it was his baby, and that he made her do just like 60 plus takes. Like that scene where he's coming off the train and she's looking for him. She said, I think I read somewhere that was like the 64th take of that.
Holy shit.
It wasn't until the last one that they finally got it, and their relationship crumbled during this movie.
Exactly.
Because he was such a crazy person.
He's a complete tyrant on the set. So much so, Gene Hackman came to do his role. He's in 2 scenes in the movie. Each take was over 100 takes. Years later, when Warren Beatty would direct Dick Tracy, he asked Gene Hackman to be in it, and Gene Hackman hugged him and said, I love you, but I can't. So
absolutely not, you psychopath.
Exactly. Jack Nicholson yelled at him on set. Maureen Stapleton yelled at him on set. He just seems like, and admittedly, film's great. So like maybe there is a method to his madness, but I really don't think you need.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think you need to abuse your actors.
No,
right.
But he won the Oscar for Best Director that year for it, so it's like I guess.
Right.
But when I read I was like, I'm about to watch a 3-hour movie about communism. I was like, kill me now. But it held my attention. It's very good. It's super interesting.
She receives her second Academy Award nomination for that performance.
Well, you've become quite the critic, haven't you, Gene? Just leaned back and analyzed us all. Duplicitous women who tout for love and then get married. Power-mad journalists who join the revolution instead of observing it. Middle-class radicals who come looking for sex and then talk about Russia. It must seem so contemptible to a man like you who has the courage to sit on his ass and observe human inadequacy from the inside of a bottle. Well, I've never seen you do anything for anyone. I've never seen you give anything to anyone, so I can understand why you might suspect the motives of those who have. But whatever Jack's motives are, how...
I seem to have touched a wound.
And then the next year, she does this little drama called Shoot the Moon. And it is a divorce drama, and it is drama. It's her and Albert Finney. They have 4 young kids.
Drama.
Yeah, and they are just...
Which is too many.
They're just at each other's throats. This movie is traumatizing. I found it, I loved it a lot, but it's very hard to watch.
I was afraid, don't you understand?
Afraid of what?
I couldn't hack it. I felt like I was swimming the English Channel with a 50-pound weight around my neck.
That's my mother's line.
Yeah, well, your mother's done a lot of drowning.
You leave my mother out of this!
I'd be glad to. Your mother was a lousy mother and a lousy wife.
Did we decide on dessert?
Well, then tell me about Sandy. Does she fuck you morning, noon, and night?
Forget about Sandy. What about him, the redneck?
The who?
Sam Studd, the character with all the cotton in his crotch. Do you do it on the backhoe?
You talking about Frank?
Frank, what a name, Frank. Had a counselor at scout camp named Frank. Frank's always loved the outdoors.
Well, this Frank isn't bad indoors.
Jesus Christ. Hey, give us a break, will
You know what it is that I love about Frank, George? He's you. He's you 15 years ago. I don't know what the hell happened to you. Did you have to become such a shitheel just because you're a big
Don't you see any good in me at all?
Not at home, not alone.
Why is it you're the only one I can't get along with? Everybody else loves me.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I think it lives in the same universe as Interiors, kind of. Like, these are family dramas that are just like, these families are like melting down, and I was like, oh my god, this is so hard. But I thought Shoot the Moon was so good and enjoyable, but damn, they never let up. Even when you think, okay, finally they're gonna be fine, that fucking husband is like, fuck no.
He's an actual monster. It's funny too, because she was cast, and she was an original pick of them for Alan Parker and writer Bo Goldman, and she came on and she's like, listen, Warren Beatty and I just broke each other's hearts, here's some ideas, and they were like, ugh. But all of her ideas ended up lending to the script and becoming really good fodder for what the film became. So good on Diane for recognizing that it could be bumped up a bit. Keaton's performance garnered her a second Golden Globe nomination in a row for Best Actress in a Motion Picture following Reds. So she's, just racking up those nominations. And then in 1984, she makes a thriller called The Little Drummer Girl. And I totally get why she did this. It was, it was action kind of, adventure kind of. It's based off a famous spy book by John le Carre, and
it's Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It's,
my god, Zionists everywhere.
Yeah, it's too complicated and not
it's so
exciting.
Complicated,
and she has like a curly mullet throughout most of the movie, which I don't know how anybody let her.
Oh my god, yes, the mullet.
When she gets kidnapped, I was like, why don't you just leave? Yeah. Like, just go. You don't have to do this.
She believes.
And it's so funny too, because she plays an actress who gets conscribed into these, both the Israeli-Palestine conflict for both sides. And in the book, it's a young 20-something actress, and in the film, it's a 30-something established actress. And it's so funny to try and reconcile that, because it's like, once again, Diane Keaton can't play dumb. Like, why is she going along with any of this?
Right.
I watched this movie a week ago, and if you asked me to explain the plot, I could not do it.
No.
I have no idea what I saw. When it was over, I was like, no idea. Could not tell you what that was about.
Genuinely
the Middle East. Yeah.
So, yeah, huge disaster. Does not go well for her. But in the same year, she gets positive reviews for the film Mrs. Sophel that she did. And I watched Mrs. Sophel, and she got good reviews, but the movie got bad reviews. And the movie's by Gillian Armstrong, and we've mentioned Gillian Armstrong before because she did Oscar and Lucinda, which is one of the earliest performances from Cate Blanchett, and I really love that movie. She also did the 90s Little Women, so she's golden in my book, Gillian Armstrong. My thing about Mrs. Sophel is it's clearly about a woman who is maybe bipolar. She's definitely going through some depressive and manic episodes.
Well, I mean, this whole movie, it relies on like this woman being like, you know what, I kind of hate my husband, and like, what if I'm just like naughty and like let this prisoner out and we go on the run?
I think that's the problem, is I think it presents that on the surface, and I think a lot of reviewers picked up on that, and I think what it's saying underneath is that like, no, she's actually sick, because there's the whole thing about the fact that she was sick. She was like sick in bed for like 3 months, and then she's suddenly fine and nobody knows what was wrong with her. And I was like, we call that depression. That is depression.
Yeah, exactly. That's called an upswing.
Exactly. And then she's like, I want to break people out of prison. I want to go on the run. Kill me. So I was like, oh, this is actually a slight bit more interesting film than I think people saw when it came out. Anyways, moving along from that, it's still not a huge hit. So like her next big hit is 1987's Baby Boom, which she made in collaboration with writer-producer Nancy Myers. Anybody ever heard that name before?
The beginning of a beautiful relationship.
Oh my god. Dream kitchens abound.
And Baby Boom is fine for like half
Baby Boom is fine.
It's fine. I remember it. My memory of Baby Boom is that it was my sister Nicole's, like, one of her favorite movies growing up, and she used to watch it all the time. And then I watched it for this, and I was like, I have no recollection about this film at all. I have no idea what's happening.
You know what's so interesting about this movie? I watched it with my mom, and because we would watch it when I was little, so I was like, I'm watching Diane Keaton. Let's watch Baby Boom, and she was like, what do you think the timeline is for this movie? About a year,
Yes.
right? You think it's about, the baby doesn't age. And I know
Doesn't
that
age.
you really can't, movie magic, you can't make a baby age. But I was like, we're supposed to believe this baby's like 11 months old for like a year and a half? This baby should be walking.
Right.
So
how long does it take to like start a business anyway?
Yeah, which is so funny because I was watching it and I was like, clearly this movie takes place over 2 years. And I was like, and that baby is not aging. In 1988, she did The Good Mother. I did not see this movie. It was a financial disappointment.
Nope.
Keaton herself said it was a big failure, big failure. And in 87, she also directed her first film, which is this very weird documentary called Heaven. She both directed and edited this film because the woman can do anything. And it is a documentary about the afterlife. And if you see this movie, you will understand why she also directs an episode of Twin Peaks. Because it is,
oh my God,
it is nuts. It is genuine. This movie has everything. Do you like old films? Do you like musical numbers? Do you like the question, do you get to have sex in heaven? It has it all.
Oh my God.
It's a very strange film. She also develops a friend with Belinda Carlisle, and she ends up directing 2 of her videos, including Heaven is a Place on Earth.
That is, I read that, I was like, Diane Keaton is out here directing music videos?
Yeah.
From Belinda Carlisle?
I want to know more. I want to know more about their, literally, this was a dead end for me when it came. I was like, why do they know each other? And that was...
Yeah. Was Diane Keaton a producer on Head Over Heels on Broadway, yes or no? That's what
I want to know. The 90s come around, and she like, quote unquote, shifts to more mature roles. But she's like really scared of getting typecast. She said most often a particular role does you some good and bang, you have loads of offers, all of them similar roles. I've tried to break away from the usual roles and I've tried my hand at several things. She makes The Lemon Sisters, which is technically a movie. And in 1991, she stars opposite Steve Martin in the remake of Father of the Bride.
Thank God.
I genuinely also think this was my first exposure to Diane Keaton as a kid.
She's the foil to Steve Martin's like kind of huffiness and like his antics. I also didn't realize she's still so young in that movie, you know, like this is the beginning of her playing moms. And she looks, I mean, her hair, as we know her now, is very gray. In this, she's got, you know, her natural like brown hair. And she's beautiful in it. Like she's still, you know, just like a kind of young woman. So, yeah, I think the movie definitely holds up still.
She's just a really good straight man. The scene that stands out for me the most from that movie is when Steve Martin is causing all sorts of problems in the Bel Air house of their future in-laws and running amok, holding a checkbook, trying to get the dogs away from him. But the way she commands that table and trying to distract the couple that they're eating with from noticing that Steve Martin is about to fall in their pool, like her expressions are incredible.
Yeah.
And she says so much just with her eyes.
From there, she goes on and she does Godfather Part 3, as we previously mentioned. She does her final to this date Woody Allen collaboration, Manhattan Murder Mystery, taking over a role from Mia Farrow, who had just recently ended her relationship with him. And I know. And in 95, she makes her first theatrical release narrative film. She did do a TV movie in between them. But she makes this film called Unstrung Heroes with Andie MacDowell. Fun, little, very Disney produced movie. But also there's some choices in it that I think really sets her apart as a director and makes her really interesting. And it's about a mother dying of cancer and the experiences her son is having with his kooky uncles. And you know what? Did I cry when Andie MacDowell died? Yes, I did. So,
spoiler alert.
I said she was dying.
Next comes death, Louis.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. When Annie McDowell makes her miraculous recovery.
Yeah.
And Louie's the mom who goes in and stops Bambi before the mom gets shot. And she's just like, and they live happily ever after.
Yeah, she takes the VHS tape right
just
out.
rips it up.
The end. Yeah.
So 1996 ends up marking Diane Keaton's most successful year, which is when she stars in the comedy The First Wives Club, in which she shares billing with Goldie Hawn and Bette Midler. But really, Diane's the star. She narrates the film. It's mostly from her perspective. And it was a huge major success. It grossed $105 million at the North American box office. It was up against steep competition. And it's funny because they'd been trying for years to get a sequel made. I believe it was released by Paramount Pictures. And Paramount Pictures told them all it was a fluke.
Wow. That's fucking crazy.
So women are a fluke,
Yeah, women.
huh? Is that what they're saying?
People know women don't like to be entertained.
No.
That's fucking wild because we rewatched this. Actually, this was First Wives Club was actually the first thing I watched for this episode because me and Sam and a bunch of our friends did a little Netflix party to watch, just like as friends. And I had all forgotten that Stockard Channing is in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
She kind of is the other woman in their squad who begins the movie with a suicide, and is what kind of like casual suicide brings these women back together. And I was like, holy shit. I mean, this movie's iconic, though. There's a reason why this has like just a cult following and people love it so much. It's so good. And she's in top form. Comedic chops, she's got them.
She's just called on to do so much. You know, Bette Midler is there to be like funny, joke after joke after joke. And Goldie Hawn is there for like the physical comedy. She's got the big lips. She's dancing like crazy. But Diane is like, nope, she's got to deliver the heart. She's got to deliver the funny. She's got to cry on cue. She's got to do her, don't make me sing bit. You know, she is the full package.
Yeah.
You know, she gets her next Academy Award nomination for Best Actress for playing a woman with leukemia in Marvin's Room. It's an adaptation of a play, casually co-starring Meryl Streep and Leonardo DiCaprio. I think that is a movie full of great performances, and that's about it.
Yeah, I told Sam that I actually had first seen Marvin's Room, the stage show, the play, and in the play, Janine Garofalo plays Meryl's role, and so the entire time I couldn't like separate that.
Yeah.
And I think also like Diane has had a couple of like plays turned into movies that she's been in, and I'm always kind of like, maybe these should have stayed plays. Because what was the first one, Crimes of the Heart? I was like, ugh, you know, like it's just like they're just kind of, they don't do anything for me really. But they are very good performances, but the movie as a whole is kind of like underbaked, I thought. Also,
I must say, the wig performance in that movie.
Yeah.
The fact that when Meryl Streep cuts her wig, it is better is the funniest part of that entire movie, absolutely. Because she looks truly insane.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to cut your hair and make you look prettier. And then she's looking like fucking Carol Brady. Like, just like, exactly. Like a, can I speak to your manager, mom? And it's
right. It's like your sister hates you. She hates you.
It's funny too because the next movie she does, and I'm sure we're not going to talk much about it, but I do want to mention it, is she stars opposite Sam Shepard again in the movie The Only Thrill, which is also based on a play, and once again should maybe have stayed a play. But let me tell you, if you didn't know, there was a movie out there in which Diane Lane plays Diane Keaton's daughter. Now you know. The Only Thrill.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. That's too much.
Yeah. Too much Diane.
Yeah.
One Diane
absolutely.
too many.
That is one Diane too many, truly.
She also in 1999 does The Other Sister.
I watched it again. I cried again. I always cry. I can't.
Yeah.
I cry.
I mean,
olive juice.
Hot take. The Other Sister is a Lifetime movie.
Yes.
Sorry.
Wow. You guys are fucking hateful. Have
absolutely.
no love in your heart.
That is not a good movie, and I'm here to say it.
Marching bands get me every time. What can I say?
That's so true. Of course you love it.
But they do. They get
the
me.
subplot is marching bands. I'm so sorry, Louis.
I love
shout out to Juliet and Giovanni. Yeah. Always hoping for those crazy kids to get together.
Yay.
I love them.
Olive juice.
I'm going to do this in what sounds like it's out of order. It's not, because this film actually starts shooting before her next film. So in 1998, actually, she starts shooting on a film called Town and Country with Warren Beatty. It's a huge financial fiasco. It ends up costing...
In 1998?
Yeah. Yep. It ends up costing about $90 million. Goes through several writers, including...
No!
Oh, yeah. Goes through several writers, including Buck Henry, who was originally brought on just to do rewrites and ends up rewriting like over a half of the script. The filming goes on for so long, Diane Keaton has to leave to go make a movie called Hanging Up with Meg Ryan and Lisa Kudrow, a movie that she ends up directing, even though in 1996 she said she would never direct herself in a film because as a director, you automatically have different goals. I can't think about directing when I'm acting. Honey, it shows.
It shows, honey. Hanging Up is barely a movie. Barely.
Yeah, Hanging Up's real bad.
We should have hung up.
That movie gets made and comes out in the year 2000, and then she goes back to film the rest of Town and Country.
That's wild.
Town and Country is a film in which she plays Warren Beatty's wife. Goldie Hawn is also in it as Warren Beatty's best friend, who's married to Gary Shandling. And Warren Beatty's a bit of a philanderer, and so is Gary Shandling. And it's like an hour of like the first hour is like a normal sort of like middle age.
Completely.
Yeah, like totally. Like, I mean, a little racist, but like a pretty normal film for that time period. Then
a lot
racist. Yeah, the second hour is like a David Lynch fever dream. There's like costume parties, there's Charlton Heston with a shotgun, there's a bed full of dolls. Like, I don't there's a completely deranged women's room scene that gets all of the main women, which is like Natasha Kinski and Andy McDowell and Dharma from Dharma and Greg, Scientologist, and
oh god,
yeah,
that explains a lot.
And puts and like it's the second hour is unhinged, and I almost like I always say that like a film reviewer's job is not to tell you whether or not you should see a movie. I do think you should see Town and Country.
No, don't see it.
No, I think you should because it's insane.
But don't.
Okay.
It's so nuts.
I truly enjoyed the first hour, even though it's just like rich people in Manhattan. Look at them, they're crazy. They cheat on each other, and I was like, I can get down to this. Cool. And then I was like, why are we in the woods? Why is Warren Beatty dressed as a polar bear?
He's a polar bear.
Why is Josh Hartnett here? But I say that all the time.
Josh Hartnett. Oh my god, I forgot about him.
And I honestly, and like, this isn't the first film to do this. Maybe this is the fault of First Wives Club, but this is sort of the era in which I think Diane Keaton really, she ends up playing all of these characters who are kind of too rich to care about. I think the only film that's really successful in that batch is 2003's Something's Gotta Give, which was a movie I avoided for years because I was like, I don't want to do this. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, this is fun. I like this. Like,
yeah, meanwhile, it's been
fun.
Sam's favorite movie for 10,000 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great.
Guess what my 5-star review is?
Spoilers. But, so we'll talk about it later. She does.
Can
I also say in 2003, I don't know, Gavin, you're going to bring this up. She did a little TV movie called On Thin Ice.
Oh,
no one
yes.
watched that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
We'll talk about that. It's not going to be my 1-star review, but we will talk about that.
Okay, good.
Honorable mention.
I just really want to talk about her doing math.
Yes, it's so bad.
Mama just needs some more.
But she does this string of films, and some of them are to more success than others. But I mean, obviously, people recognize her from The Family Stone. She does Because I Said So, which she is somehow genetically the mother of Mandy Moore, Lauren Graham, and Piper Perabo. Please explain me the father of those three.
Yeah, somehow.
Another movie in which she reluctantly sings.
Yes, exactly. She does Mama's Boy and Smother, 2 films in which she's a mom. She does Mad Money with Katie Holmes and Queen Latifah, a film in which she's too rich to care about once again.
Just the most boring heist movie ever
absolutely.
made.
It is. Heist movies are exciting. Like, I love a good chase scene. I want to just sit and watch something blow up sometimes, don't we all? But that movie is so boring.
Katie Holmes, imagine Katie Holmes being like, I'm weird, I'm fun, I'm just gonna like dance in a parking lot. I was like, Katie Holmes, why are you here, girl?
I know.
What's going on?
Your curls are far too perfect for you to be poor.
You know what's funny is that role was originally supposed to be Lindsay Lohan, and then they couldn't get the insurance together.
No.
Yep.
That I buy.
2010, she stars alongside Rachel McAdams and Harrison Ford in Morning Glory. She plays a TV host. Yeah.
It's fine.
Never really liked
She
that
does a
movie
good
that
job being a
much.
morning host, I thought.
Yes. Yeah.
I love Rachel McAdams so much, so I mean, it's not a good movie, but it's like a very easy to watch, easy breezy, fun little.
But if
thing.
Diane Keaton started on the Today Show tomorrow morning, I buy it.
Yeah. Oh, it's 10,000%.
It's fun.
Just Hoda and Diane.
Hoda and Diane. Call NBC.
I found an interview with her and Katie Couric where she was talking about how like she didn't think she was that good at it because she's too rambly. And I was just like, well, in this interview, you're at least the more human of the two. But now, you know, now we're basically contemporary. We've entered her sort of like late stage romantic comedy / family dramedy area. She does The Big Wedding. She does Love the Coopers. She does And So It Goes, which is a movie I hate so fucking much. 5 Flights Up. She does Hampstead, which is like a British older romantic comedy with Brendan Gleeson, and like any scene that they're not in, I stopped caring about. and that brings us to 2018's Book Club, a movie that we mentioned before when we talked about Jane Fonda, that I think is a lot of fun. I mean, I hate the fact that it involves 50 Shades of Grey.
I like it.
Yeah.
I hate the fact that it's like sponsored by Bumble. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Candace Bergen's Bumble journey. Let me tell you,
that's a whole
cinematic masterpiece.
I mean, that Bumble was in beta. I don't know what she was looking at.
That was beta Bumble.
Who's her like love choices in that movie? It's she was married. We're talking about Candice Bergen, by the way. So she was married to Ed Begley Jr. She meets Richard Dreyfuss, and she also like has a date with Wallace Shawn. Like, poor Candice Bergen.
Yeah.
They can't.
I know.
All the elder men they found for this movie to go with these like 4 iconic women.
I know. Meanwhile, Diane's wandering around Arizona with Andy Garcia. I was like, oh, Candace, you got gypped.
The safest way to travel.
You ever know why you think that?
Why?
Because you never really met anybody who's been in a plane crash, and you want to know why?
Why?
Because they're all dead.
I think those pills are affecting you already.
I think so. Oh my God.
What takes you to Arizona?
Oh, my daughters live there.
Well, that should be fun.
Not exactly. They're kind of forcing me to go.
Why?
Well, my husband, he died last year, so.
Plane crash?
You didn't say that.
I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. No, I'm really sorry.
I'm sorry too. No, well, thank you. That's sweet. Thank you so much.
But then, of course, after the success of Book Club comes 2019's other like old lady doing things.
Palms.
Palms.
Which, had you guys seen Palms before?
I had not.
I had not either. I will say,
we are not the demographic for Palms.
No, we're not the demographic for Palms. And also, like, it's too easy to like shit on this movie. This movie is clearly made to like warm the cockles of the elderly's hearts.
But
and,
I do love a movie that's just a tight 90 minutes. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Get them in, get them out.
Also, was not ready for this movie to be about her dying in the end.
I know.
Like,
I know.
I will say tastefully done, because suddenly it cuts from them doing their cheerleading performance to just a firework going off, and she'd been watching infomercials about getting her ashes shot into fireworks earlier, and that was it. That was just like, and Diane Keaton's dead.
And then it's like all of a sudden we're the next year, and they're like, we're doing it for Martha, and they're like still cheerleading. Low stakes in this movie. Like, the villains are just like mean people, you know?
Right, who want to cancel their club.
Right, that cancel their cheerleading club. Like, it's too dangerous. What are you want old people to have fun? How dare you?
It is extremely low stakes.
But I will say this, one of the things I love about her career is she has all of these great reoccurring character actors who really sort of follow along. You have the Carol Kanes, who did a lot of Woody Allen films, and the Lemon Sisters with her. You get Celia Emery, who is the villain in Palms, and she's also a housekeeper in Unstrung Heroes. Annie McDowell shows up in a lot of her films. And I love that she has bonded with these women. Obviously, she does a lot of work with the same men, Warren Beatty and Woody Allen, but Goldie Hawn, this core group of women that she's clearly friends with, that she likes being in films with. And I kind of love that. Plus, anytime Celia Emery shows up in anything.
I saw Celia Emery actually in that in that production of Marvin's Room. She was the older aunt.
Oh, wow.
So
I love her so much.
She's great.
That brings us to now in her career. We've talked about her relationships, obviously, but I think one of the things that people don't realize, or at least is not talked about a ton, is that Diane Keaton has never married.
Nope.
She said of being older and unmarried, she's like, I don't think because I'm not married, it's made me any less. That old maid myth is garbage. When she was 50, she adopted 2 children, a daughter, Dexter, she adopted in 1996, and her son, Duke, in 2001. And a lot of that was sort of brought on by the death of her father, and she realized that she did want, maybe she didn't need somebody else in terms of a relationship.
When you lose your parents, you're suddenly thrust into an entirely different world. You feel like you're basically living in a kind of a wonderland. It's no longer grounded, and everything is new. Your perceptions of the things around you, never having been a person who really noticed trees. Seriously, it's as simple as that. And I think this happens to a lot of people. And I think in a way, it's a gift of being older.
It's sort of the when we did our Whoopi Goldberg episode, what's Whoopi Goldberg's thing where she's like, I don't want somebody in my house.
I don't want people in my house.
Exactly.
Absolutely not.
And I could totally see that. But also she did, have this maternal instinct. And she said, quote, motherhood has completely changed me. It's just about the most completely humbling experience that I've ever had. And I've heard her talk about her kids a ton in interviews, and I kind of love that.
I remember being 30 and thinking and knowing somebody who had adopted someone at age 50, literally. And I remember thinking at the time, well, that's not a good idea at all. So I think that as life goes on, things change. What are you doing with yourself? What's important? What has value?
Also, I always respect people who adopt. So, in terms of her personal life,
queen of being like, fuck getting married. Ugh.
Yeah.
There's so many kids out there. Stop having them. Just go get one.
I say that to every pregnant friend I have. Stop it.
Oh my God! You're wasting your life. Your body will never bounce back.
Don't you have dreams? Anyways, she in terms of her personal life, she opposes plastic surgery. She said, quote, I'm stuck with this idea that I need to be authentic. My face needs to look the way I feel. We mentioned before, she's very self-deprecating, but I don't know if she owns mirrors because she is gorgeous to this day. And so like, of course it's very easy, somebody that looks like that and ages that way, to be like, I don't like plastic surgery. Right. It's like, yes, because you are never aging.
Yeah.
Hot and self-deprecating.
I know. It's terrible. She's produced a lot of films. She produced the Fox television series Pasadena, which was canceled after 4 episodes in 2001. She also produced 2003's Gus Van Sant drama Elephant, which is a movie about school shootings. And she said, it really makes me think about my responsibility as an adult to try and understand what's going on with young people, which is very cool of her. She's a real estate developer. She's resold several mansions in Southern California after renovating and redesigning them. One of her clients was Madonna. Heard of her? She purchased a
Never heard of her.
$6.5 million Beverly Hills mansion from Keaton in 2003. And once again, she's a published writer as well as photographer. She's written 3 memoirs, one about her relationship with her mom, one about herself, which is based off of her own notes, and one about her relationship with her brother called Brother and Sister, which actually just came out this year. She was actually doing press for it before we all had to go hide in our houses. And just watching her talk about her brother has some mental issues and was also an alcoholic, and just sort of the relationship she still has with him and the way that he lives. And it's just very polar opposite from the experience she's had for most of her life. And I don't know, it's really cool that she would decide to write about her brother.
You know, look, I'm a person who's never married. And I think that Randy had the most significance, and it's being played out now more than ever. Now that he's, he's kind of infirm in a way that he can't really express himself too much anymore. When I look back on Randy, I just think, wow, I wish I could have been a better sister. That's all I really do. I wish I could have been a better sister.
She did The Young Pope in 2016. I loved her in The Young Pope. Genuinely one of my favorite modern performances from her, and also the type of role that she's really not getting in films, and so I understand why she did it. But yeah, she played a nun who raised Jude Law's character and basically sort of mentally fucked him up. And she's great. She gets to wear a really cool t-shirt in it that says, "I'm a virgin, but this is an old shirt."
So stupid.
And we laugh and laugh.
And we laugh and laugh. She's won several Lifetime Achievement Awards. Film Society of Lincoln Center gave her a gala tribute. She won a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Hollywood Film Actors, AFI Star Award from the U.S. Comedy and Arts Festival, Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Film Institute. So she just racks them up. And yeah, what do you guys think about her body of work before we move into our picks? Like, what do you think is sort of the defining thing that you like about Diane Keaton?
The first thing the first thing comes to mind is like she is like the poster child for like the AARP like movies for adults. You know, like Absolutely. She just is that girl in that like set. You know, all the movies that she's making now are just gonna be like easy breezy. You know, like they're comforting. But I think from the very beginning, like I said, from I Will for Now, all the way up until like book club, really, it's like there's gonna be, you know, her push against like the norms of like society and what they say like women should be or what they should be doing, and tribulations of love. And honestly, that's where she's like so successful. You know, we love her when she's in those big family dramas because it just feels right. And when she's doing like the little drummer girl, you're like, this is incorrect.
Yeah, totally. I love how self-aware she is of the roles she takes on, especially in the last 20 years. It's basically like, yeah, they're easy and you're still going to go see them. And right. I'm just so down with the fact that she is self-aware enough to completely understand that. And she knows that she is on that screen playing herself.
Yes.
And she went through the years where she wanted to be challenged and pushed. And I think that for her was solidly the 80s. And she tried many different things. And, you know, to Louis' point, some of the time we were like, Diane, you're not.
What are you doing?
Why are you in Israel? Get out. But so she's just out here getting paychecks, and I am totally fine with that.
When I was watching Palms, I was like, I remembered that like interview of Angelica Houston being like how she was offered a role and she was like, oh, I would never, blah, blah, blah. You know, she was very snooty about it. And I remember at first being like, oh, wow, like she's so badass because she's so like above it all. Right. But then when I was watching Palms, I was like, you know what? Diane Keaton is like, listen, bitch, I'm 74 years old. I'm still having fun being silly. And like the ending of that movie fully is like YouTube videos of people dancing the dance in the movie. I was like, this is harmless fun. Like, and you know what? Diane doesn't want to just be like fucking locked in a tower counting her money. You know, she's gonna like, she is America's mom.
Absolutely.
And I think with that, we should take a move into our picks. Let's get it out of the way and do our 1-star review.
Sam, guest goes first.
My 1-star review is 1986's Crimes of the Heart.
Wow.
This movie is trash. First of all, Diane's Southern accent couldn't be worse, especially when you're putting her next to Sissy Spacek. Okay? The juxtaposition between those two voices is wild. And I hate that Diane's entire character, whose name is Lenny, her whole job is to be sad and pathetic. That is the entire... The movie begins on Lenny's birthday, and she is alone because she has a shriveled ovary and no one will love her. And so she throws herself the biggest pity party in this... truly, in this dilapidated coastal Mississippi farmhouse, and then is rocked by the news that her little sister has shot her husband, and spends the next, what felt like days of my life, whining and sobbing and grabbing her hair and being so upset at the antics of her sister and why no one will love her.
Anyway, Meg is known all over Copiah County as cheap Christmas trash, while the whole town knows about her sordid dealings with Doc Porter, leaving him a cripple.
Cripple? Well, he's got a limp. He just kind of barely has a limp.
His mother was going to keep me out of the ladies' social league because of that.
Oh, Chick, please. I'm sorry, but you're in the ladies' league now.
That's right, I am. But quite frankly, if Mrs. Porter hadn't developed a tumor on her bladder the way she did, I wouldn't be in the ladies' social league, much less a committee chairman.
Right. She's like so mad, like, how dare you shoot your husband and take away the attention from me on my birthday?
Exactly. It's my birthday, but it's my birthday. Okay. Shoot your husband another day. And watching Sissy Spacek make lemonade is pure and utter chaos.
I just love mine really sweet. Sam, you're forgetting the other ingredient to this.
Jessica
movie.
Lange's old face.
Jessica Lange's old face. And that
I was like, who is she?
And that wig.
Oh, that mullet wig deserves an Oscar. That bad boy stayed on somehow.
That movie blends into Marvin's Room for me, just because it's like about sisters and like bad relationships between them all.
And in both movies, Diane Keaton plays the role of the one who's left behind to care for the sick family members while her sisters go out and accomplish very little, quite honestly.
Right. They try to follow their dreams, but like don't.
Right. No one is successful in Crimes of the Heart. It is just but you know what's interesting? I do think I would like it as a play.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a Beth Henley play, which one of our greatest, Southern Gothic playwrights. And I as I'm watching, I was like, I bet you the ovaries thing is mentioned like maybe once in the play. And like, it's just part of like subtext. And the thing that this movie does, though, it brings everything to the surface. And it's like, this is why we're doing this. And it's like, oh, God.
The part of the movie that did make me truly laugh out loud, though, and I think would be so effective on stage, was Sissy Spacek's suicide attempts. When she comes down those stairs.
You want a small personal anecdote? I was in this play, actually. And I cannot... I was Sissy. I cannot, for the life of you or the life of me, tell you which guy I played, and I have no recollection. I just remember doing this play in New Vision Theater Arts, and we watched the movie, and I was like, "This movie's not."
He was 8 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Children's theater.
But yeah, it doesn't hold a high place in my...
Well, you were basically either the husband or the lawyer.
I think it was the lawyer. Or
like one of the cops, maybe? Like, isn't there
or the guy that Jessica Lange goes off with?
I was not the guy that Jessica Lange goes off with. There was only 2 guys. So we had to double up, I think. That was the...
Yeah. Okay. But solid pick, Sam, though. Solid pick. I'll say my 1-star review. My 1-star review is 2007's Because I Said So.
Which has a 4 on Rotten Tomatoes, I believe.
4%. It was It was the worst rated movie of the year. This is Diane Keaton while in this phase of her being like kind of a mom who just like doesn't understand like technology or like, you know, her kids have grown up so fast and she just doesn't understand like how life works anymore. Like if there could be a montage of her like, you know, looking through newspapers and circling things and like fucking up like a computer. I think in this movie specifically, she like looks up personals and ends up on a porn site and it starts playing and she's like, oh no, how do I? And she like ends up just throwing a towel over the computer. And I'm like, don't leave out the fact that her dog also answers the phone in that scene and brings the phone to her while the porn is playing. Right.
And Lauren Graham, poor Lauren Graham once again, has to be on the other end of this phone call trying to be like, huh, mom, what? Huh, mom, huh, what is that?
I know. The fact that Lauren Graham plays a therapist too, I'm sorry, but I was like, come on. She's an innkeeper and we all know that.
Yeah. If you don't know, Because I Said So is a movie where Diane Keaton is just so worried about Mandy Moore because, of course, I mean, Mandy Moore can't get a husband, obviously. She's too beautiful,
she's
too
disgusting,
successful.
right? But she's a little kooky.
She's a little kooky. She has a weird... poor Mandy, when she tries to, like, don't do that laugh. And Mandy's like, whatever she does, I'm
First
like,
of all, that's my real laugh. So I'm offended watching that entire movie. I was like, on behalf of all snorters, we can't help it.
Please, thank you. And so Diane puts out a personals ad and she goes on like these dates, like basically speed dating to kind of filter through people to set her daughter up. And Willem of Drag Race fame is famously one of these people, looking very busted. I'm so sorry. You'll never hear this.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah. In kind of like a very bad transphobic joke situation.
Oh, that was Willem.
Yes. That was Willem, yeah. And this movie, though, has no idea what it is because for whatever reason in the editing bay, they were like, what if we add in like crazy, like when the scenes cut, they're like, uh-oh, it's like slapstick sounds. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? While she's like interviewing potential mates, like this hot brooding man in the corner who's playing guitar at this hotel is like, what's going on over here? And he turns out to be the guy.
He's a walking, talking pork pie hat. That's what he's like, brooding, handsome man.
Oh yeah, he wears a fedora.
Yeah, he's a sentient fedora, Louis.
Yeah, it's Jason Mraz.
He's truly, absolutely.
And so like antics ensue when like Diane tries to set her daughter up with like basically the guy that she wants. And Mandy Moore starts dating this sentient fedora. And Diane ends up falling in love later with the fedora's dad, which is the guy from Stephen Weaver Collins, who is now canceled, I believe. For the Seventh Heaven dad.
Because he admitted to molesting an underage girl and then also like inappropriately exposing himself to a couple other underage girls. Yeah.
Jesus
he plays
Christ.
her love interest twice,
nice.
Nonetheless, because I guess not love interest, because he's not her love interest really in First Wives Club. She's the object of her revenge, but
right. It's just like a lot of scheming. It's Diane, and the things that they make her do are so contrived and awful. It's the worst of her powers and abilities because the movie is just so bad. So like all of her like shrieking and shrillness is just like for nothing. It's just kind of like, God, like insufferable.
Well, and she drops a cake and gets herself covered in frosting twice.
Yeah, it's just like too zany, too wacky, too goofy. All she wants.
In the time of coronavirus, watching them all stick their fingers in the cake to taste the frosting over and over and over again, I was like, please do not do that. Do not do that.
I also love that Piper Parabo's like only like personality is like she's the horny one, like for whatever reason.
Yes.
You know, like all three sisters have a thing, and like Lauren Graham is the psychologist, Piper Parabo is the horny one, and Mandy Moore is like the sad little baker girl who, I don't know, doesn't like wearing polka dot dresses.
Yeah. That scene when they're about to get massages and they're all comparing underwear. I was like, mothers and daughters don't do this. And then Diane Keaton refuses to like take off her turtleneck to get a massage. And she goes, no way, pal. To the poor masseuse who's just trying to get her prepared for her lovely spa day.
Mom, why do you wear the high tops? I just got these. What's wrong with these?
They're just kind of depressing.
They're kind of something you would wear in the hospital.
Yeah, like if you were like injured.
Well, wait a second. I'll have you know, young ladies, that this underwear enhances the female form, highlighting the elegance of the waist and making the legs appear longer instead of the, well, I'm sorry to say this, but the awful, foreshortening aspect of a thong, which breaks up the body disproportionately.
Mom, come on. For your 60th birthday, we're going to break you down, and we're going to buy you something beautiful, something that Grandma Moses would not buy. Yes, you are.
The worst thing about, this movie is very bad, is a whole goddamn choice, but it made $70 million. So, I guess. Great. Love that. Women.
That's
flukes.
disgusting.
Okay.
Gavin, what about you?
I'm going to do my 1-star review very quick because I don't want this to be the 4-hour Diane Keaton epic. But I try not to pick films that I know no one's going to go out of their way. Like, people might still watch because I said so. They might still watch Crimes of the Heart. This is a movie people probably aren't going to watch, but I'm going to say it anyways. 2008, she does a little film called Smother. Smother is available on Tubi if you were really curious about it, but she plays the controlling mother to Dax Shepard, and Dax Shepard and his wife Liv Tyler, who are trying to have kids, but Dax Shepard is concerned maybe they shouldn't because he just lost his job. And at the same time, Liv Tyler's cousin, played by Mike White, whom I love and is just wasted in this movie, comes to live with them. Diane Keaton also moves in because she's breaking up with her husband because she claims he's having an affair and he won't admit to it. This is everything about this movie is bad. Like the casting is terrible. I understand why Diane Keaton did it. This is maybe the only time in the last 20 years she's played a character. She gets to wear like a curly wig and glasses, and she gets to say racially inappropriate stuff, and she gets to be like incredibly controlling and like litter, but she's an unrepentant, unrealistic monster in this movie.
Is it just me, or did she seem like she was high on marijuana?
Are you gonna tell me what's going on with you and Dad?
Can you please pass the salt, Myron?
Oh.
Thank you.
It's Myron.
Oh, Myron. Well, actually, I kind of like Myrell better. It reminds me of Gone with the Wind. Normally, black movies don't hold my attention, but I like that one. And I like the Jeffersons. Honey, how is your omelet?
It goes back to that thing that we're always talking about on this show, where there's these comedy movies that are about these truly deeply terrible people, and then at the very end they pull the rug back and are like, no, you in the audience are being too judgmental. This is a person and you shouldn't judge her. And it's like, no, she's a fucking emotional terrorist. And I see why she did this movie.
It's the Fox News audience for sure.
Absolutely. And I totally see why she did this movie, because it gave her a chance to do something different. And she's been playing all these moms. She, the year before, the same year, she also does this movie called Mama's Boy, which I almost gave my 1-star review, but the problem is not her. The problem is fucking Napoleon Dynamite, who I can't think of his name right now. John Heder.
It is Napoleon Dynamite. You were correct.
Yeah.
John Heder.
He's not an actor. He's not an actor.
No.
And just ruins everything he's in because he can't act. But this, I felt like I had to give the 1-star review to, because she's actually giving a performance, and it's just not a good one. It's poorly written. It's badly put together. No. This movie got a very limited theatrical release. I think it made its American premiere on Lifetime, but was not a Lifetime movie. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's, yeah.
Lifetime felt bad.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, we'll help.
I actually kind of feel really bad for all 4 of the stars, but also they chose to do this film, so they didn't have to.
We need to figure out what Liv Tyler was up to, because she made some choices.
Yeah. Maybe stay tuned for our next episode, Liv Tyler.
Liv Tyler. What are some other movies, really quickly, that you guys just hated?
So you mentioned On Thin Ice earlier, which also goes by another name, which I believe is Breaking Through. On Thin
I think that's
On Thin
right.
Ice was a 2003 Lifetime movie in which she plays a mom who gets addicted to meth, and she starts selling meth,
Dun, dun,
and then
dun.
she turns turncoat on the dealer, who is played by Michael Rooker, who is literally the only other celebrity in the film. It is a Lifetime film. It was made for Lifetime. She said she she said she did it because she's very concerned about the plight of women who, like, these not well off women who do turn towards meth. But good God, is she so bad in it, and it's hilarious.
I know what you've been doing. Huh? I know what you are.
What are you talking about, sweetie?
You're a dealer.
I am your mother. Hello?
My mother would never lie. Stop! I looked up to you.
All right, okay, just tell me, okay. All right, what do you want, okay? Just play it out. What do you want? Do you want rollerblades? Is that what you want? Or maybe you want a cell phone? Just, what is it that you want? Just tell me what you want, because of course I'm gonna get it for you. Just what, damn it, you want you, Mom?
Look.
Stop! Okay, sorry, what?
She's just beyond miscast. You're supposed to believe that Diane Keaton is, down on her luck, working in like some Rust Belt town, and she's working all odd jobs, and she's got this son who's Canadian. He's a Canadian actor. And she's like, I guess I'm gonna start selling meth now. And this is the woman who is just like, so uptight and very like airy, and I'm just like, this is the wrong choice, Diane. I cannot believe I'm having to see Diane act as if she's strung out on meth right now. Could not believe.
While she's renovating houses for Madonna.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like it's just such a series of bad choices. But the only defense I will give it is she had just done both Hanging Up and Town and Country, and both of these films were huge disasters. And so she turned towards TV.
Mm-hmm.
She did 4 movies, and she got right back into the big screen business. She was like, okay, something's got to give
quick buck.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Literally, Town and Country and Hanging Up, also awful movies.
Awful movies.
Not Funny for Me is up there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mentioned before The Only Thrill, which is the opposite of The Only Thrill.
Let's get out of here, guys. Let's talk about happier, fun things. Let's get into our 5-star reviews.
If you don't know anything about me, I am a white, straight woman. Therefore, my 5-star review is 2003, Something's Gotta Give. And
Oh my God.
I could try and choose something that is less basic, where she's pushing the boundaries a little more, where she is not on screen, directed by Nancy Meyers, truly playing herself. However, I think Diane Keaton is having so much fun in that movie, which is another reason I love it, is she plays Erica Berry, who is a rich playwright, which, Jeremy O'Harris, are you listening? Are they all that rich? I don't know. But who is divorced. She has a daughter in her late 20s who brings her 60-something-year-old boyfriend out to her mother's Hamptons house for a weekend romp. Her mother turns out to be there, and
with her sister, played by
Frances McDormand. Jack Nicholson plays the boyfriend. They are getting a little hot and heavy in the bedroom. Him and Amanda Peet, obviously. And he has a casual heart attack. And then...
And who's his very hot doctor, Sam?
Keanu Reeves.
Ooh, Keanu.
Keanu, who, for reasons that aren't truly explained, falls for Erica Berry.
Well, he's a lover of the theater.
He's in love with her mind.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Fine.
That's fine.
we did an entire episode on Keanu, and I was like, I don't need to see this for Keanu, whatever. He's so good in this movie. I genuinely thought...
good, and he and Diane have such chemistry.
Genuinely. Like,
I know.
I was rooting for them. I was
I was
like, so
too.
Jack Nicholson's gonna die, right? And she's gonna end up with him.
Right.
Uh-huh.
But don't break Keanu's heart.
I know.
He loves you. But there is a montage about 2/3 of the way through the movie where Erica Berry has started dating Jack Nicholson's character, Harry Sanborn. They date a little bit. You know, he's kind of a fuckboy. He's the type of guy who will take you out on a couple dates. He'll talk about planning a trip to Paris, and then he'll tell you he never loved you. So she is sort of reeling from their breakup that she cared a lot more about than he seems to. And there is a montage of her crying, writing a play, laughing hysterically, crying again, writing a play that kills me every time. It is just,
it's very good.
Nancy Meyers went to Diane and said, I want you to do every stereotype of yourself in the next 60 seconds. And she just nails it.
When she's just like hitting that fucking computer, like just writing her like whole life and soul into it, and then she stops, and then it's just like, ah! Like she's just like fucking. It is so acting. Ever heard of it?
Oh, it is perfection. I love every second of that. And you know, I was reading up about this movie, and Jack Nicholson talked about how there's a very emotional scene with the two of them on the streets of New York where she confesses her love to him, and Jack said when Nancy called cut that he genuinely thought that Diane Keaton was talking to him, that she was having these feelings, and was like, I think I need to talk to Diane. Like, I don't understand what's going on between us. And Nancy Meyers was like, she's acting, you psycho. But
what's funny,
Nancy Meyers was like,
this poster,
you wish.
right, exactly.
The poster, they sold this movie.
Jack and Diane.
Just Jack and Diane, no last names, and it's bigger than the actual name of the movie.
Yeah.
I was like,
it holds more power.
Yeah,
I know.
Truly.
Well, and Jack Nicholson is another actor who is often discredited for just playing himself over and over and over again. And so I just love that this movie is the tale of two people playing themselves.
Yeah.
And it works.
It's great.
Excellent. It's a highly good performance for not being asked of a lot. Like she's being asked to play only to her strengths, and she's like, cool, got it, can do it. Before we move off of it real quick too, since this was my first time seeing it, I was surprised by the sex scene between them, especially when he's like, I can't get your turtleneck off, and she's like, cut it off. I was like, this is fucking kinky. Like, good for you getting your oats, Diane.
I will say that the movie to me feels like a tad too long. Like when they keep going on, I'm like, and they're now in Paris, and then like,
I know, it's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, this movie should have ended 30 minutes ago. But yeah, I think this is a very good pick, and maybe, you know, one of the definitive movies of hers for sure.
Absolutely.
My 5-star review, and I went back and forth and all over the map for this, but truly I just had to go back to 1996 is The First Wives Club. It's unparalleled. She's at the peak of her like comedic mastery. She is, you know, giving all the eye-rolling, side-eye, dry, like witty delivery of everything, guffawing, just, you know, playing off these other two like powerhouse women. This movie, like Sam, you said earlier, they ask her to do everything, and she fucking this like kills it all. I mean, she's definitely playing in the same wheelhouse as she is in Something's Gotta Give. But like, I think this is a lot more like way more physical. She is, I mean, the scene where they're trying to like steal like the tax return files.
When they break into the apartment.
They break into the house.
Yeah.
And the three of them are just like, you know, it's full of,
and she just has a breakdown and can't help anyone.
Yeah, it's full Curly, Mo, and Larry. Like, it's just like, holy shit, like high comedy. Yeah, I love this movie so much. And there is just a reason that this movie has endured. And a big part of it, I think, is because of Diane. And I mean, girl can wear a power suit with the best of them, honey.
Oh my God, she loves a monochrome.
Oh my God, all the white throughout her career, and the gloves in interviews. Oh my goodness, I love everything about it. One of the things I will say, the differentiation of the characters between the woman she plays in Something That's Gotta Give and the First Wives Club, I will say, is the First Wives Club does ask her to be slightly more pathetic, and I think that's not something you normally see out of even though once again she is a self-deprecating person in real life. I do think that sort of she's very confident in real life. And I think the one thing that her character in First Wives Club needs to learn is that confidence. So maybe she becomes that woman at the end that she's in Something's Gotta Give. But that's what I would love about her character in the First Wives Club, is she has to build that confidence.
Right. And in the beginning of that movie, you know, she's very hesitant to join in on these other women. She's very much like, I can still win my husband back. I'm doing all the things. I'm seeing the therapist. And oh God, the scene when she realizes that her husband's fucking her therapist, and she is like, I can't believe how much effort and work I was putting into this relationship, and you are the supreme fuckboy. And her therapist, who's just like a fucking idiot.
Well, Annie, this is rough. I know that.
Rough! Wait a minute. I don't understand. You are my therapist?
I'm a woman.
He is my husband.
Oh! Annie, we've been separated for months now. Let's not over-dramatize, okay?
Aaron, she's allowed to be angry. Annie, let's use this. He's found someone new. You're free. Closure.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but that is not what this is.
Well, Annie, no, Annie, you are not helping us out here. Now, I am sorry that this has to happen this way.
I am very sorry I ever met you, and I am sorry that I allowed myself to love you for all those years. I'm sorry I did nothing but be there for you every minute of every day and support you in your every move! I'm sorry!
I love Marcia Gay Harden, though. She's so good in that role.
Yes.
Hit me.
She is very good.
Hit me.
Hit me. She's so good at like turning up the temperature of her performance. She's simmering for such a long time.
Yeah.
And she wants to be the perfect like wife, and just very like, you know, not going to make drama, not going to make waves, and just like be very, you know, on the level. And then finally, when she needs to, she just fucking turns it to 11 and just fucking explodes everywhere. And it's so funny and so emotional. So she's got that perfect blend of like pathos and catharsis and just like comedic genius. Yeah, it's so good. I love also the tagline for the movie: "Don't get mad, get everything."
Oh, honey,
genius.
I know.
So Gavin, what do you got?
Both of those are really good picks, so I think you're probably going to think I'm a kind of a wet blanket because I'm actually not going to go with a comedy. I think my favorite performance of hers was as Louise Bryant in Reds. Reds is a movie I'd been meaning to see for a very long time. As I mentioned before, she's a liberal feminist who decides to basically she entangles herself with Warren Beatty's character, John Reed, and she wants to get involved in the communist movement. And it's interesting to watch. They have a very heated relationship. She gets involved with Eugene O'Neill, played by Jack Nicholson, at some point in this film. He gets to say a lot of really nasty things to her. But what I like about her performance is she brings this both playfulness, but this like unbreakable spirit to it. Like, she's a woman who really, really does know what she wants. She knows what she wants out of life, and she's willing to sacrifice a lot to get it. I do think there's maybe some negatives to that, because there are bits of this movie that feel kind of like, oh, she's a lady just doing anything to follow her man. And I do think the film suffers in the, you know, it's a 3.5 hour movie. I think the film suffers in the final hour because she's not in it that much. She like disappears for like a full hour, which is really unfortunate. But I think her performance really carries throughout most of the film. And when she finally does get to Russia, towards the end of the movie, I think there's a lot of really great work there. There's a lot of passion. And I don't know. It's a really big powerhouse performance, in my opinion. But honestly, I think you can pick anything from that 1977 to, 1982 run, whether it be Annie Hall, Looking for Mr. Goodbar, Interiors, Reds, Shoot the Moon. And she was just in that period, just turning the performances, giving the work, and playing this variety of roles. I don't disagree with either of you. I think she's such an amazing comedian. And both of those are very worthy 5-star reviews. But I think if you want to see her do something a little smaller, but equally as passionate in a different direction. Reds is a really great way to go.
I believe in the teachings of Christ. Am I being tried for witchcraft?
Miss Bryant, tell me, are there no decent, God-fearing Christians among the Bolsheviks?
Does one have to be God-fearing and Christian to be decent? Senator, the Bolsheviks believe that it's religion, particularly Christianity, that's kept the Russian people back for so many centuries.
Miss
If
Bryant.
any of you'd ever been to Russia and seen the peasants, you might think they had a point. On the subject of decency, Senator, the Bolsheviks took power with the slogan "An end to the war." Within 6 months, they made good their promise to the Russian people. Now, the present president of the United States of America went to this country in 1916 on a no-war ticket. Within 6 months, he'd taken us into the war, and 115,000 young Americans didn't come back. That's how decent, God-fearing Christians behave. Give me atheists any time.
The thing about her character in Reds is she has such confidence, but you can almost tell it's like, it's like a duck swimming. She's going to be cool and collected up top, but inside she's absolutely insecure and has no idea what she's doing. But she just presents this confidence of, that's fine. I'll leave your ass. I don't care.
Well,
I'll move across the country.
It's funny because at the time the whole thing is like lefty, left of left politics. But at the same time, she still understands that this is fucking patriarchal shit and she's still a woman. And so there's expectations of what she's supposed to be and like what she's supposed to know. And she has that really great scene with Warren Beatty about like why no one takes her seriously. And they have this huge blow up and fight. I think that the role is just like very complicated, and that's what makes me like fucking lose my mind when like I can't imagine some of those scenes doing them 60 times because they are roller coasters of emotions and just like
They're long scenes.
Yeah, long technical scenes, and I'm like I just can't imagine. She must have really just been able to fucking own it. And so yeah, but what you were saying, Gavin, my second pick, if I was going to choose another, one of my favorites was 1982's Shoot the Moon. You can just feel the heartbreak in her in every scene. It's just like, that is a woman hanging on and like, yeah.
And it's so funny because that heartbreak is real because it came off of the ending of her relationship with Warren Beatty. And she really brought that to the role and was able to project that onto the screen. I mean, I don't know if you're an actor, if you really want to document of the time in which your heart was broken by a narcissist, but she has it. She certainly has it. The other thing I did want to say about Reds too, I think her relationship with all of the characters is really complicated, but none more so than maybe her relationship with Emma Goldman, which is Maureen Stapleton's character. And I think it's really interesting because they don't share a lot of scenes together, but I would say 80% of those scenes, you really get the idea that Emma Goldman fucking hates her, doesn't take her seriously at all, and is like, you're not dedicated to this cause, you're not radical enough, you don't deserve to be here. And then finally they share a scene towards the end of the film and she's just like, oh fuck, you really are down for this, okay. And like and I really enjoyed that back and forth.
It's that whole thing. It's like I imagine her being like, oh, this girl's just here because she wants to get some dick, she's not serious. And and it's that idea, like I can imagine back then it's like there can only be room for one revolutionary woman, like what are you doing here? And that's just kind of like a societal ingrained thing,
She also, I think her chemistry again with Jack Nicholson is very 100%. Strong in this movie, and the scene when Warren Beatty comes back from assignment early and she's having the party and she and Eugene O'Neill are, making out in the hallway. And when she discovers that she's been caught, like, acting, that woman.
Back when people could kiss. What was it like?
Revolution.
Will I ever be touched again? Who's to say?
Were there any other, I mentioned that run. And like, once again, I do think, you can separate art from the artist when it comes to certain things. And I do think that she had a pretty good run with Woody Allen. Do I like some of the modern stuff she said about Woody Allen where she's been kind of supportive? No, thank you. But
absolutely not.
Like Annie Hall and
I saw that there's a two-part documentary on Amazon, like about Woody Allen. And I'll never watch it because he's a truly bad person, but she is.
Didn't she give him like the Cecil B. DeMille Award or some shit?
Yeah. I mean,
we're
not here to fully deconstruct that relationship, and like people are friends with fucked up bad people, I guess. But
I mean, look at Sam and me.
Yeah. Two bad people.
So I think before we get into our fast forward, let's do our mixed reviews review. Sam, why don't you go first?
So my 1-star review was 1986's Crimes of the Heart. And my 5-star review was 2003's Something's Gotta Give.
My 1-star review was 2007's Because I Said So. And my 5-star review is 1996's The First Wives Club.
And my 1-star review was 2008's Smother. And my 5-star review was 1981's Reds.
So let's get into our fast forward.
So in terms of what she's doing next, she does have a film currently in post-production. It's called Love, Wedding, and Other Disasters. It's directed by Dennis Duggan and appears to be written by Dennis Duggan and Eileen Kahn. It's a multi-story romantic comedy about people who work on weddings to create the perfect day for a loving couple while their own relationships are outlandish, odd, crazy, and far from perfect.
Wow.
You know what?
Wow,
I'm going to watch it.
This movie was made for Diane.
I hate it. I hate every minute of it, but I will absolutely see this movie.
She was also currently in pre-production, and this one is much more exciting, on a little film called Family Jewels. It was announced earlier at the end of last year. I'm going to read the log line and then tell you who's in it. The log line is 3 women are forced to spend Christmas together along with their children and grandchildren after the man they were all once married to drops dead in a New York City department store. It stars Diane Keaton, Goldie Hawn, and Bette Midler.
Wow. They said, we can't do a First Wives Club, but fuck that, we're doing something else.
Absolutely. Honeys. Yeah, I'm for that. That sounds fun. That sounds a lot more fun than her other wedding movie. She's also currently doing the voice of Michelle Lee on the Green Eggs and Ham TV show. We didn't mention earlier, she's also in Finding Dory, so this is not her first voice acting work. I mean, she's 74. Doing whatever she wants.
She doesn't have to work.
No, she doesn't.
At all.
She has become the woman in the Nancy Meyers films.
Absolutely. There's money in that.
She's just fully having fun. And I was reading something about like her and like Jane Fonda kind of have these, I don't want to say similar paths, but have been playing women who are like strong, radical, funny as fuck. And I mean, clearly Diane doesn't have the political career that Jane Fonda does or cares about.
No, she makes movies about heaven.
Yeah, it's true. You know what's really funny about that comparison? There's a scene in The Little Drummer Girl where she's doing the same scene that Jane Fonda is doing in Clute from the George Bernard Shaw play about Joan of Arc. And let me tell you, Jane is so much better at doing that scene in Clute than Diane is in Little Drummer Girls.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think this like brings me back to like the Angelica Houston of it all. Like Diane Keaton doesn't have to be doing anything right now, but she wants to, and she's having fun. And I think like when we all saw Book Club made bucket loads of money, you know, and it's just pure fun. Is it like the best movie ever made? No, not close at all. But like these are just iconic actresses who know they're iconic, you know, who are just like having fun, giving the people what they want. And I think Diane is just like, yeah, what am I going to do? I'm not married. I don't got anything to do. My kids are grown, whatever.
And like I said, she doesn't have to be doing any of this. And the fact that she's still working is a blessing to us all, because even in these bad movies, like she is good, and she's incredible to watch because it's so effortless.
Can you believe we barely even talked about The Family Stone? Like we watch this every Christmas. It's iconic. She is so good. Tears.
It's you and me,
every
kid.
time. You and me, kid.
This is normally in the episode where I'm like, so what do you want from the future of this? But like, I mean, I feel like we've basically said that. Like, I don't need to see Diane Keaton on stage. Like, I don't need her to do like, you know.
And you know what? She doesn't want to do that.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. She doesn't need
like,
me to need her to
no.
be on stage. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
She's like,
She's
8
like,
shows a week.
I'm not gonna go out and do
I'd
a little
rather
night
die.
music. Like, yeah.
No. The only thing that Diane Keaton has to do is just carry the torch of Nancy Meyers. Okay, that's literally it.
Yeah.
You know.
So Absolutely.
Okay, like until someone else arises to take that mantle,
right?
We have Diane.
Nancy says, God. Diane, you stand in this beautiful kitchen and you look concerned, and she delivers.
About your family,
right? Exactly.
So I think that wraps up Diane Keaton perfectly. She is an American treasure, absolutely. Sam, we're going to give you a chance to plug your stuff before we're on our way out. Where can we find you online?
Oh, gosh. Well, you can find me on Twitter at sjstallard, STALLARD. Sam_Stallard on Instagram if you want to see content of my dog. And be sure to buy lots of Condé Nast magazines, you guys, because media needs to stay alive. So please go out there and you pay for those paywalls, you guys. Keep us going.
Yeah, you subscribe to Bon Appetit, okay?
Please, honey, help us out.
Watch those BA Test Kitchen videos.
That's right.
Where can you find us, Gavin?
Well, you can find us so many places online. If you want to contact us on Twitter, we're at The Mixed Reviews.
We're also on Facebook. Just type in The Mixed Reviews.
You can email us at reviewsmixed@gmail.com.
We're also on Instagram, _mixed_reviews. You have to go to our Instagram, though, because Gavin puts together all these fun videos and just like nonsense things. Sometimes I post when we're watching movies for the next episode. They're great.
Absolutely. And also, if you listen to us, as you have been doing for however long this episode is, you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, iHeartMedia. We're also on Podchaser. Please leave us a rating and review either on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. It helps other people find us. And if you enjoy what you're hearing, we want other people to enjoy what they're hearing as well.
Yeah, and check out for our poll on Twitter to vote for your favorite Diane Keaton movie. And I guess we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Maybe we'll do another Netflix watch party. Who knows?
Maybe we'll be out of quarantine.
Oh, that would be maybe so lovely.
We won't.
But yeah, but
we will.
If we can't, we will be happy about it because we will be safe.
We will be fine.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam, so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Sam. We should all have a glass of white wine because Diane doesn't drink red anymore.
I just want your listeners to know how much work you guys put into this because it's
we've been recording for 9 hours.
Bananas.
Yeah.
I am so impressed that you guys do this every 2 weeks. This was homework and it was so fun. But they're doing the Lord's work.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That means a lot.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye. Bye-bye.